Alright gang, I'm going to draw this little guy, super happy octopus. So to make it easier to draw, to make it match their instructions, I went ahead and I got the colors, right, the RGB values for the two shades that they use in the octopus. So let's go ahead and do it. You can just click on the tutorial link. It's in the file, right? You know, find it and click on the instructions there. Download attachment. I wonder what that is. All right. Anyways, so we're going to make a document. It's going to be 8.5 by 11, except it's going to be landscape, so it's going to be 11 by 8.5. We need to set it to RGB, and we need to set the units to inches, at least some of the units to inches. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to create new. Going to choose a letter. I'm going to choose more settings, units. I want to be inches. Now I may get annoyed with some of the units being set to inches, but I'm going to go ahead and go with this one. And I hope it created 8.5 by 11 because it went ahead and did everything else. Now I'm going to go and check my units. You'll find them under Edit Preferences. Except on the Mac, you'll find them under Illustrator Preferences. I'm going to check the units here and see what they came up with. Yeah, the general units are inches, but the stroke and the type are points. That's what I like to see, so that when I'm drawing things, it'll tell me that it is, you know, 3 inches wide and stuff like that, or whatever, right? So let's go ahead and do what they want. And the first thing they want us to do is to draw a circle that's 2.5 by 2.5 inches. Just as a reminder, I always have my workspace set for Essentials Classic. So you can go to Window, Workspace, Essentials Classic if you want yours to look exactly like mine. So here we go. Create the body. Step 1. We're going to draw a circle and we're going to set it to be green. Now the specific green that I want to use is this specific color here. So I'll need these digits, those hexadecimal values, in just a minute. So let's draw it. I'm just going to click and release, right? Choose the ellipse, click and release, and type in 2.5 and 2.5, since that's what they want. Put it in the middle there. All right, it needs to not have any stroke, and we need to fill it with green, but instead I'm going to fill it with a custom green of these digits right here. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to shift click on the little color box up here where it says hold the shift key to bring up alternate color UI. I'm going to shift click on that, and then I'm going to switch it to RGB mode. If it wasn't already in it, I would use the little hamburger menu here to choose RGB, and then I can just type in, or I could if this was in a place that it would let me do it. All right, so I could see it. Here we go. 64DA5A. Not 64, C4DA5A. All right, that's that kind of nasty green that they have there. And I want to preserve that as a swatch, right? So that I can keep referring to it over and over. So I'm going to use the hamburger menu again to choose Create New Swatch. And so this is going to be, I don't know, Octopus green. Now it wants us to stretch it out, and we've done this before. We did this like when we were making a heart. You know, we just use a white cursor to grab the bottom point and stretch it out. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to white cursor, direct select cursor, click and release, click and drag. Make it look kind of like an alien head, huh? Alrighty. Step 2. Select the oblong ellipse and copy and paste in front. They sure are really fond of this paste in front. Whatevers. I kind of like just grabbing the black cursor and dragging while holding the Alt key, the Option key, and now I have a second copy of it, right? And I can put it back in front exactly where it was, but yeah, I could have pasted it in front just like they said. And then we want to squish it up a little, right? About 1/4 of an inch up. So again, I'm going to use a white cursor. Click and release on that bottom anchor and push it up about, I don't remember, did they say 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch? Yeah, 1/3 of an inch there, right? Okay, and then they want us to change the color of this to a lighter green. Well, that's why I have this as well. So with the black cursor, I'm going to select this modified shape, the one on top, and I'm going to shift click on here and type in, whoops, switch to RGB. I don't know why it's in that mode right now, so I'm going to use the hamburger menu to switch to RGB and type in this series, D6 E6 2D, D6 E6 2D. All right. Just kind of shrink that down. Alrighty. Then it wants us to add these speckles up at the top. And what do they want us to do? They wanted us to draw a circle and then make it a lighter green. Well, you know what? We just did the Jello guys. So instead, I'm going to follow that tactic of drawing a little white oval and then making it translucent, like 20% or 30% or something like that. So I'm going to fill it with white and set the opacity to like 30, maybe 35. Let's see how that looks. It could probably stand to even be a little more opaque, like 50% or 45 or something. Just make it a little bit wider. All right, looks good to me. So I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to kind of rotate it a little bit if I can figure out how to do that. It's not letting me zoom in on it. All right. Make a copy of it by holding the Alt Option key down and dragging. Holding the Alt Option key down and dragging. Maybe make some of these smaller than the other ones. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's giving me grief about letting me select the edge so that I can rotate it. I'm going to zoom back in. Hold the Alt key and spin the cursor wheel. Zoom in. All right, zoom out. Let's see what it looks like. Good enough, I think. You know, they have quite a few little circles, but I'm just going to stick with that. Create the mouth. So I'm going to draw a circle, and then I'm going to chop it in half. A lot of these sites like to do the chop in half by drawing a circle, putting a square on top of it, and then using the Pathfinder. So let's do that. Why not? Did they specify the size of it? 1.5 inches? Okay, great. Choose the ellipse tool. It needs to be a black circle. So click and release. 1.5 by 1.5. Here's my ellipse. I'm going to drag this out of the way, and then I'm going to draw a rectangle and put a rectangle on top of it so that I can cut it off. There's all sorts of ways of cutting things, right? You know, I could probably even just use the knife tool wherever it's hiding. The Knife tool. Is there a way to restrict the knife tool to drawing only up and down? Drawing only straight lines? If there was, then that'd be their best way to do it, but I'm not seeing how to do it. Anyways, so I am going to do it the way that they're showing, which is to grab the rectangle and draw a rectangle that intersects with the circle. And I'm just going to change the color of the rectangle. It doesn't matter. It's going to disappear in a minute, right? So I'm just doing this to kind of, illustrate the placement of it. You certainly don't have to do that. All right, because the rectangle is going to disappear as soon as I use the Pathfinder to remove this part. So actually, I think that they put it on the bottom part and then choose intersection. No, they do subtract from shape area. So I'm going to leave it on the top and then choose subtract from shape area. So I need the Pathfinder. Where do I find it? Never use this window, never use the one under the effect menu unless you absolutely know why you're doing it. Just as a matter of course, always go for the Pathfinder you find under the window menu. Window, Pathfinder. I need to have both of these things selected for this to work, so I'm going to select them both. Now with them both highlighted, I'm going to choose minus front. The tutorial calls it subtract from front. All right, so I have a mouth, but I'm going to make the mouth a little bit more complicated than that, right? Because I want it to have teeth and, a tongue and stuff like that. So how am I going to get the teeth? I'm going to draw two little circles like that, and then I'm going to use the Pathfinder to chop their top off, right? And they go and they do different ways of doing it, but we already have a method of doing it. Does it suggest how big the teeth need to be? About 0.375. All right. So choose the ellipse tool. Now I'm going to make the teeth kind of a light gray color, just a gray for now. Whoopsie, not the mouth. I'll change its color after I click it. So click and release on the ellipse tool. Why is it not letting me click and release? What is that? Shaper tool. That's not what I want. All right, so choose the ellipse tool, click and release, 0.375. It was supposed to be 0.375 on both of those. Brilliant. So I undid that, click and release, 0.375 and then 0.375. Right. And I'm going to make that a little, lighter gray so that when I move it up over the mouth, it looks good. All right, what they want me to do is to draw two of them slightly overlapping. So the fastest way I know to make a copy is just to, with it selected like that, hold the Alt key. You know how to make copies, do whatever you want. So Alt drag to make a copy of it, leaving them overlapped. And they want us to chop the top half of the teeth off. Well, the first thing I need to do is I need to unite these. And the instructions on the website don't tell you to do this. But I need to unite these guys. So I'm going to use the Pathfinder again to unite them. And it seems like a serious problem that the website doesn't say to do this. So Pathfinder, unite, right? Now it's all one shape. Now I can do just what I did before. They show a different method of doing it. They have us go and put the teeth here and then put a cup. But anyways, tell you what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and show and do it the way that they want us to do it. They wanted us to take a copy of the mouth and do this with it, right? So that we could see both of them like that. And then they want us to select both of them with the black cursor like that. And you see where these two parts intersect? That's the part that they care about, is this part right here. And so I'm going to choose intersect, this option in the Pathfinder. And now I get my teeth shape, which I can move over here, right? Now for the tongue. Same kind of business. I'm going to draw a oval for a tongue. Did it give a size for it? Well, they want it to be 0.5 by 0.5. I guess I can live with that. So choose the oval tool, 0.5 by 0.5. I'm going to make it temporarily pink, but I'm going to make it a gradient in a minute. Again, they want it chopped off, intersected with the mouth. So I'm going to select with the black cursor the mouth shape again and Option drag it, Alt drag it off. And I want the tongue to kind of look like that. Right? If I go and look in the instructions, it's kind of how they have it. Maybe they have the mouth a little bit more down than that, but okay, whatever. Or, you know, you could change these shapes to look however you want. You know, so like if I selected that and if I felt like it, I could make, you know, the tongue wider and however, right? Whatever I want. Okay, so I'm going to put a gradient on it. The gradient that they show on it, they started off with a white to black gradient, and then they make it pink to lighter pink. And I don't care so much about the specific colors. I'm just going to choose, you know, kind of a dark magenta and a light pink. So I need to find the gradient tool. If I didn't know where it was, I would go under Window Gradient. I need to apply a linear gradient, the black to white linear gradient, which is just the top one here, the white black. And I need to pick kind of a dark magenta color here. I wonder if I could just do that from here. So I double clicked on the circle to choose that color. And then over here I need to pick a softer white pink. So I'm going to double click on that circle. And pick some kind of paler pink. Right. All right. Let me see how close that is to what they did. I guess their pale pink color was 246, 179, 208. Do I care enough? Double click on that. Oh, you know I can't help but do it. 246, 179. 246, 179. And what was that last number? Don't remember. Let's go look. 208. I don't think this is going to be a good color. I think that I would have been better off leaving it the way I had it before. Let's take a look. I don't know. I guess it's okay. I really liked it the way it was before, I think. So dragging this little diamond slider on top of the gradient slider, I can adjust the amount of light pink that there is. Or I could even change the direction so that it was light pink on top and dark green, right? I could change the angle. There, the dark pink is up at the top and the light pink is on the bottom. Well, anyways, now I need to cut this shape just like I did the other one. So with the copy of the mouth and the tongue positioned where I want it, I'm going to select both of those, right? Get them both selected again, and I'm going to use the Pathfinder again just to get the intersection so I get that little shape. Window, Pathfinder, intersect. That gives me the tongue shape that I can drag over and drop right around here. Right? Now I feel like grouping all that together and then putting it on the head. And as a matter of fact, I kind of also feel like grouping the head pieces together, right? Because I don't want to be able to mess it up like I just did. So let's do that. Let's group these things together. Grab those guys. Right click, group. And put it here somewhere. How do they position it on their map? It's about right, right? And then I'm going to choose the whole thing and group. Highlight everything. Right click, group. And they're doing something with a line to try to align everything exactly in the middle. I think I've already done a good job about that. But you know how to use the align panel, you can draw several shapes like this. You can select all of them, and then you come up and you find a line here, right there, a line, and you can say please align them so that they're horizontally lined. Or if you wanted to, you could align them, vertically so that they were all, lined up like that. Anyways, so the assignment does that a lot. I just kind of eyeballed it and assumed that with the little guidelines working that it looks okay. All right, we're going to need some eyeballs. That's what's next. So they want us to fill in another ellipse that's about 3.75 by 3.75. I think that was the size of the tooth. They seem to like that shape. And we're going to make a black circle, and then we're going to put a couple of white speckles in it, right? White reflections. Make the eye look like it's wet. So I'm going to choose a black fill, choose the ellipse, click and release, 0.375, and I'm hitting the tab key to go to the next one, 0.375. Then I need to add two little teeny tiny white circles in it. I'm going to zoom way in before I try to add those. Okay, so then I'm going to deselect this. So I'm choosing a black cursor and selecting on the background. So it's no longer selected. Grab this again and make it white or at least very pale gray and draw a smaller circle. Right? And then another even smaller circle, and we can adjust the size of these as we want. Here's how they have it look, right? Like that. Pikachu eyes, I don't know. Anyways, so I'm going to make one of these larger, holding the shift key down while I resize it. Okay. And they want us just to group that and then make a copy of it. That's all they want us to do. So I'm going to object group it. They may not say to do that. And then I'm going to hold the Alt key while I drag it, or do your favorite way of making a copy. And now I need to put his eyeballs on him. I guess they have his closer to the edge of the mouth. Does it matter really? Whatever you think looks good. Well, now I can't get it to show me that line. Alrighty. Good enough. Then they want us to do the tentacles. The tentacles are the most interesting part of it. Unfortunately, we have to use the pen tool. There's other ways to draw them, I'm sure. But using a pen tool, it's only going to have two curves in it, so it's not going to be that traumatic to draw it. So I'm going to click and release, and then I'm going to come over here and click and hold and drag, and then I'm going to come back over here and click and release. And that should give me the curve that I want. So I'm going to make a black pen, choose the pen tool, see if I can get that illustration on the screen to kind of guide me as I go. Alrighty. So click and release. Come up over here, about halfway between that dot and the face, and click and drag. Right? And then come back over here. Click and pull a little bit there, right? And we're done. So I'm just going to, I guess, hit the escape key or click the black arrow, some way to end it. I could have just clicked on the end. Now I don't want this black fill stuff, right? So instead I need to select the shape, and I need to change that into a stroke and get rid of the fill. We don't want to fill. All right, now he's got a cute little arm. Maybe I want to make his arm a little bit longer. I don't know. Right? That kind of look like what he's got? I think it's good enough. Now they want us to draw the tentacle 8 different times. I call shenanigans on that. I'm just going to draw it once and then make 8 copies of it and position the copies around. Okay, so, but we want a nice thick tentacle like this, not the little, whip-like cilia, if you've ever taken, botany course. Let's go and go to the stroke panel, which I don't seem to have here. So I'm going to go to Window, Stroke. And they set it to a fairly large width, I believe of 15 points. And they want us to set it for round caps. So with my stroke panel, that's selected, 15 points. And a round cap. All right. Now I need to expand that so it'll become a solid shape like that. And then I'm going to fill it with the lighter green. Okay, so expand. Sometimes expand is hiding up here, but this time I'm just going to find it under Object, Object, Expand. Just click OK. I'm not going to change any of these settings. All right, and I need to make it the light gray to match the top of his head, not his chin. Did I never save those as swatches? I meant to. Okay, I never saved the lighter green. I think I was calling it gray there for a while. I'm not sure why. I never did save the lighter green as its own swatch. I need to do that now. So I'm going to select him. I'm going to pull up, I wish I had done this earlier, sorry, the color menu. And then with the hamburger button, or the color palette panel, with the hamburger menu, choose Create New Swatch. Well, I don't just have that one color. Dang it, I really wish I had done this earlier. Okay, so finally, now I have that shape selected. I can use the color panel, or I can just shift click on this, right? Like I was doing, hold the shift key down and then choose Create New Swatch. And now I need to get out of this edit mode because I'm editing just one particular shape. It says that I'm editing a group. I don't want to be editing a group. I want to be editing the layer, right? And so I'm just going to use a black cursor to double click in the background until all that goes away. Okay, so now I do have that shape. And that shade, that hue. I can grab the color now and pick the light one. Now they do a clever little trick where what they do next is they make a copy of the tentacle, and they make that copy of the tentacle the darker green, and then they intersect to make it look kind of perfect like that. So we'll walk through those steps. I need to make a copy of the tentacle, so I'm going to use the Alt key and pull down and drag, right? Just so it kind of looks like that. But now I need the copy of the original. And here I guess I really am going to do what they want. But first, before I do that, I'm going to make the copy tentacle, the bottom one, a little bit darker. So I'm going to choose my other green. It's darker, right? They want me to choose the top one now, copy and paste in place. So edit copy, or paste in front, I'm sorry. And then edit paste in front. Now to me that didn't really paste it in front. Still looks like it's behind the other one. But now I can select that green one and that green one and choose Pathfinder Intersect, and it's just going to leave me with this intermediate, this shape in between. And I'll demonstrate that again. Choose Intersect, right, and there now the tentacle is two-tone. The top of it is one color and the bottom is another. So what was going on there? Well, say that I had this and it was set to the light green color. And then say I made a copy of it, right, and dragged it down and filled that with dark green. Well, now that they both look dark green. One was supposed to be light green. There. Vice versa. Okay, so there, right? I botched that. Okay, so the bottom one is supposed to be the darker green, and the top one's supposed to be the lighter green, right? Now, what I do is I grab the top one and I copy and then paste in front, copy, paste in front, and then select both parts, the dark green one and the light green one, and using the Pathfinder, do an intersect. And so now I have two pieces, right? I have a real circle and a real oval, and then the piece that highlights it. So that's all I did there. My tentacle's looking pretty good. I'm going to copy that and paste a copy of it. And then I'm going to make enough copies to give him 8 legs. That's one of them. But firstly, I'm going to group it. I don't think it's grouped. So I'm going to group him, object, group him, object, group. All right, right. Now make enough copies for 8 legs, 4 per side. All right, now I want to flip these. I want to reverse them. So I'm going to use the mirror tool, or the mirror option. So I'm going to select all 4 of these and choose Object, Transform, Reflect. And I want to reflect them vertically, right? All right, and now I just need to position them. And then I'm going to want to, ultimately I'm going to want to send them all to back, or I'm going to want to bring his face back to front. I just happen to think it looks better if these are in the back. I've already done this assignment once when the recording crashed. So I'm going to highlight all 4 of those guys, right? Select all 4, right click, arrange, send to back. Group all these, right click, arrange, send to back. And then I'm just going to try to arrange the legs. You know, put some rotation in them. Doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. Kind of move them back under the body a little more. All right. Of course, you can get picky and keep modifying these things forever. For fine positioning, I click on it and then use the cursor keys on the keyboard. Right. I think that's good enough. All right. Now I can group all of him together, right? Highlight all that stuff and object group. Now we're pretty much already done, but we're going to have to make it a little bit better. What do they want us to do? They want us to give him a blue background, right? So they're going to make a blue radial gradient and stick it behind him. and then we're going to add some rays. Now this wet method of adding the sun rays that they have us do, it just flat out didn't work for me, and I fumbled with it. And maybe you could get it to work great, but I'm going to do it the old reliable way that we've done, our sunburst since the very beginning. So let's draw a rectangle behind them. And let's send it to back and then fill it with a gradient. So arrange, send to back, and then choose the gradient tool, however you need to, right? You can do, oh, that's kind of cute. Anyways, either window gradient or over there, on your palettes that are docked to the right. Pick the black and white gradient, but make it radial. That's a linear gradient. We want a radial gradient. And the colors that they want us to use, I don't think they specify the values, but they want us to go kind of from a bright aqua to a lighter blue to a darker blue, and see what that looks like. So I'm going to double click here and make that a bright aqua. I don't even know if a bright enough aqua exists. Let's click around there until we get one. All right. And then they wanted an intermediate color. So I'm just going to click under the bar here to add a middle color. And it's going to be a lighter blue. And then I'm going to double click on the last circle and make it a bit of a darker blue. This color and this color may be too similar to each other for it to really matter. I mean, for it to, look a lot different. If you feel like, you can always move between RGB and hue saturated brilliance and CMYK to try to get different colors, right? Or maybe I don't even like having 3 colors, and maybe I'm just going to pull it off and have 2. No, I don't like that. I'm going to undo that. Okay. So there he is. I don't think that looks as good as the first time that I drew it. Or maybe it's because I chose a different shade of blue. It's not the same colors they have, but I don't care. So I'm going to use a black cursor, move him up more in the center of it. All right, what do they want us to do next? They want us to draw a sunburst around him. And they talk about drawing a rectangle and using free distort and crossing these things. And it just turned out to not work at all when I tried rotating it. So I'm going to do it the way that we were doing it earlier. But I'm going to take Mr. Octopus and just move him out of the way for now. I'll bring him back. But I need to draw a triangle. And the apex of the triangle is going to be right in the center. Easiest way to draw a triangle is just to grab the polygon tool and then click and release rather than click and drag. So it asks me how many sides, because it defaults to 6, right? But I want 3. Fill it with white. Shrink it down. And then make its apex intersect with the center, right? And then I'm just going to option click after choosing the rotate tool. So I need to select this shape. He's selected now. Grab the rotate tool. Option click on the very apex, and you might zoom in right before you do that to make sure you get it. And option click on it. Type in 20 degrees there. Click preview and click copy. That looks pretty good to me, and I'm going to repeat that over and over and over until it goes all the way around. So object, transform, transform again, which is just Control D, Command D. I think that's thicker than their way of doing it, right? I mean, they just had their triangle skinnier than mine. And then they set the transparency to 50% on all those things. So I need to select all of these white shapes. So I'm going to grab one of them and do select everything with the same color. Select, same, fill color. Now how about fill and stroke? Or fill, how about just appearance? There, right? Now it's all selected. I can group that, object group, and then I can lower the opacity. They suggest 50%. Let's give that a shot, see if it looks good. I don't know if I really think that it looks great. We might want to lower it some more. Try 30, right? I think that looks better. And although they don't have us do it, they go on and have us draw another circle, put another gradient in it, put a brighter light in the middle. Meh. Instead, I'm going to put a filter on this. I'm going to put an effect on it. So I'm going to select our sunburst, our starburst. I'm going to choose Effect, Stylize, Feather. And just play with the feathering again a bit. How about that? Somewhere between 0.25 and 0.375. How about 0.30? All right, cool. And I'm going to bring him back, put him in the middle. He's looking good. Really, I think the first time I did it, I got the colors looking better. But I could keep playing with the colors, right? I could go back in, find my gradient tool again, and see if I could find colors that I liked better. It's funny how he changes color based on what's behind him. He looks bright yellow at that point. And if you put different colors behind him, he looks a different shade of green. Anyways, okay. About enough of that. Last thing that, well, two more things I'm going to do. I'm skipping this step here of putting another circle in the middle. I'm sure it looks great and all that. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add these little twinkle stars. So I want some twinkle stars. Still fussing with this. Good enough. All right, I'm going to get really annoying by it. I'm going to find out what color they have as their edge here, if I possibly can. I should pause the recording while I'm doing this. All right, so the colors I finally wound up with, if I choose the background rectangle again, the outer color I managed to get exactly what they would had, which was 537A CA or something close to that. And so on the gradient, if I double click on that one, and then choose well, that's odd. Now it's not letting me choose that color, is it? And it looks like I've got several different copies of it. Fine, just leave it alone and go, right? Make it look how you want. Oh, see, if I choose the color picker there, then I could type in that, the numbers that I showed over there. 537A CA. Right? And then this one I just chose, another blue until I thought it looked good. All right, I am done messing with that, but we need to draw the twinkle stars. So what are we going to do? We're going to make an ellipse. We're going to draw a white circle, white filled circle. No. Deselect everything. Double click on the gray background with the black cursor. All right, draw a little white circle, fill it with white, and then use the pucker option. Right, so zooming in on it, effect, distort and transform, pucker and bloat, and then with the preview on, slide this until you get a twinkle star shape that you like. I think they have it at 70, whatever, right? Minus 70. And so you're going to make copies of that, and then you're going to change the size of it and make more copies of it, and then you're going to change the size of it, right? So here we go. Now I have some twinkle stars. And then I'm going to increase the size of it by holding the shift key down and making more copies of, well, I guess that's a little bit too large. Hold the Alt key down, make some more. Let's make some itchy bitchy ones. Right, and then just plop them on here. And then I'm going to make them translucent, which I probably could have done before. I made copies of them, right? But it's not too hard to select everything with the same fill. All right. Obviously, I'm going to rearrange them, but I'm going to select one of them and do select everything with the same appearance. Get all those white, and then lower the opacity to like 50% or something. Maybe make even some of them even smaller than that. Right? And then just move them around until you like what you get. Then I'm going to put a mask. After I finally get all the twinkle stars, I think these twinkle stars are honestly a little bit too big. Once I get the twinkle stars positioned how I like, don't know how many of them I need to be happy. Can one ever really have enough twinkle stars? Alrighty. Now I'm going to mask them off. So I'm going to choose the rectangle tool, draw a rectangle over the part that I want to be able to see, highlight, or excuse me, select everything. So select all, and then object, clipping mask, make. And that just trims off the side stuff. And if I feel like moving things around, now I'm going to have to double click on it in order to get in order to edit, you know. Zoom in and stuff like that. I really should have made it in layers. But maybe I don't like the mask the way it was. Maybe I wish that I had made it, you know, different shape mask. I do not know what I just did. I may regret what I just did. I meant to undo. Okay, good. He's still here. I did an undo. Yeah, that's how I want it to look. I'm just trimming off the bottom. So now highlight everything. Select all or Control A. Command A on the Mac. Clipping mask, object clipping mask, make. And then I'm going to resize the artboard to match, right? Because there's some white stuff here and here. So I'm going to use the artboard tool to reduce the size of the artboard to perfectly fit my mask. And I'm done. All right. I may have liked my first one better when I used my own green colors. You don't have to use the colors exactly, of course. All right. So I'll save it as a PDF and upload it. All right, I hope that was fun.